November 30th. It's the last day of November, and we are starting In A Holidaze by Christina Lauren. So let's go ahead and just get reading, and then I'll kind of give you guys an idea of what's going on, how the book starts out, and what my thoughts are after I get a little bit into it. I just read the first chapter, so I thought I would give you guys a little bit of an idea of what this book is about. So it's first person in the perspective of our female main character, May, who is at her family's cabin in Utah that they've owned for forever, and they're spending Christmas there with some family friends. We obviously don't know this yet because this is the first chapter, but from the back of the book we know that this is a time loop romance. So she's going to be, I think, spending Christmas here multiple times throughout the book. I love some magical realism and just the time loop, so I'm really excited to kind of see how that plays out in the book. But so far, just from the first chapter, I like our characters. I feel like they got me into the story really well. I feel like their writing is just very quick and easy to understand, but already is just making me laugh and smile. I think it's funny, and so I'm excited to continue. This seems like it's kind of going to be a childhood friends to lovers kind of situation, which is one of my favorite situations. So I'm excited to kind of see how that plays out as well. So yeah, I'm just going to keep sipping on my hot chocolate and read some more of this book. Over halfway now, and I'm really enjoying the story. I feel like Christina Lauren's writing is always super fast paced and it flies by. It's easy to read, and I feel like the pacing has been really good. I think the time loop has been good so far to where you don't feel like you're reading the same parts of the story over and over again. It's not overly repetitive, which I appreciate, and I really like our characters. I really like the setting in the cabin where everybody's staying together and eating these family meals, and I really love that aspect of it. And the romance is really starting to develop now, and I love childhood friends to lovers, so this is fun. I just love when there's a history, and I feel like the history with this place that's so important to them could maybe be a part of their future. I'm not sure, but I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm gonna read a little bit more, and I will give you guys an update when I have one. With a reading update. So I finished In A Holidaze by Christina Lauren last night, and I feel like this was just the perfect fast-paced Christmassy read. It was full of lots of Christmassy activities, which I really loved. I loved Benny. He was the uncle character, and he was just so fun. I really liked his character and the way he interacted with May, who is our female main character, and just his overall persona in the book I just really enjoyed. I also really enjoyed our male main character, who I'm not going to say his name because I was somewhat confused at the beginning of the book of where the storyline was going. And even throughout the storyline, I think because of the time loop aspect, there was always this thought in the back of my mind of is something going to change where she goes back and the storyline is different or something changes or it's a different person. You'll understand if you read the book. I feel like that was always kind of this lingering thought in the back of my mind, but I really loved him. I thought he was so sweet, and I just loved their story of the like childhood really close friends to lovers. I also really, really loved the snowy Utah cabin setting and the Park City and just all of the holiday activities that they did. I thought were so fun for just getting me and the characters into that Christmas spirit. I think that doing all of those activities takes a lot of planning and intention, and I think they captured that in the story, but also just the fun of playing a game of hide and seek and eating dinner together and like the simple joys along with those more like robust holiday traditions was really fun. The one thing that kind of caught me off guard a little bit with the book was that I didn't feel like the time loop element of the story was quite as like prominent as I thought it would be. It definitely was a part of the story, but I feel like the whole time I was reading, I was like wondering if we were gonna like go back into the time loop, and maybe that was intentional on the author's part of like you kind of feeling that tension with May of like, what's going on and when is this going to happen and how do I trigger the time loop, and like kind of having those thoughts yourself. I wonder if that was their intention. I'm not sure, but it definitely worked for me. But I also do feel like the book would have been just as good if you took the time loop element out. I don't feel like it was essential to like the conflict or the storyline, but I do feel like it was like a fun, magical little addition. And I do feel like this was truly a low spice read. I believe there were 3 spicy-ish scenes, but they were all pretty short, and some of them I feel like were even almost like a fade to black. They weren't super detailed or anything, so I will still try to put those pages if you want to know what pages to skip, but I do feel like this was overall very low spice. And overall, I feel like this was just a really fun, well-paced, Christmassy read. If you're looking for something that is low spice to kind of get you in that Christmas spirit, a little bit of childhood friends, snowy cabin, Christmas activities, I feel like this would be a great one to pick up. Now that I've finished In A Holidaze, it's time to pick up a new book, and I think I'm going to go ahead and start The Christmas Countdown by Holly Cassidy. This is one that was also on my low spice TBR, but I think this one basically has like none, which the previous one kind of did too. That's why they're low spice, but we'll see as we read. This one is about a girl who I think gets dumped, and so her sister gives her this advent calendar of like fun Christmassy things to do to kind of lift her spirits, and I believe it somehow leads her to some sort of romance while she's doing all of these activities. So I feel like this one will be super fun and just full of, again, lots of those holiday activities to kind of get us in that mood for the Christmas season. And so I'm excited. I'm going to start this one in a little bit. I have some chili simmering right now since it's still a really chilly night outside. So I'm going to do that and then probably snuggle up and start this book, which I'm excited about. And I will update you guys when I have an update. I have read about 30% of The Christmas Countdown by Holly Cassidy, so of course I thought it was time for a little update. So far, I'm really enjoying this book. I feel like it is similarly to In A Holidaze a little bit. It has the perfect amount of like Christmas activities and like those festive things. So Callie, our main character, is feeling down about a breakup. She has to work with her ex, and so she's in a little bit of a Christmas Grinch mode this year. And so her sister Anita made this whole like Christmas advent calendar countdown thing for her, and they were going to do it together, and now Anita has to leave to go work out of town, so she'll be gone. And so Callie is now, I think, going to do the Christmas countdown with Marco, who is this cute baker guy she met at a Christmas tree farm. How Christmassy and magical is that? I've never read a book before by Holly Cassidy, but I'm really enjoying her writing style too. I feel like it got right into the story. It sucked me in quickly. It's been pretty well paced so far. I like the characters, I like the setting and the stories that are developing and like just the little things that are happening, and so I'm enjoying all of the story so far. And yeah, I'm excited to see where we go from here and continue to develop a romance. And I think Marco, so far, our male main character, is really just sweet and fun, a little bit cheesy at times, but just overall seems like a really sweet male main character, and I feel like our female main character deserves that. Enjoying this so far. Really happy I picked up a book by Holly Cassidy because I feel like her other Christmas book, I think, is called The Christmas Wager, and that one was on my list too. So if I continue enjoying this, I will probably pick that one up pretty soon as well. Last night I finished The Christmas Countdown by Holly Cassidy, so naturally it was time for an update. I did really enjoy this book. It was a really fun Christmassy read. It had all of the things that you would love in a Christmas book. So the Christmas advent calendar that the sister Anita in this book makes for the female main character is so fun. It's like a day of an activity that kind of gets her out of her comfort zone, and then she gets a treat the next day. And I think that's just such a fun idea, and it incorporates so many fun Christmassy activities into this book. Like I think I talked about earlier, they go sledding and they volunteer and they bake, and like just so many fun holiday activities, and I really loved that aspect of the book. I also really enjoyed seeing like her relationship with her sister, and that was like a huge part of the story, as well as the romance, was like just their sibling relationship and conflict and them helping each other through like hard times, and just all of that. I felt like that was really well done in this book as well. And then of course the romance was also really sweet. It was definitely cheesy at times and a little bit insta-lovey. I feel like if you don't love the like insta-love cheese, you might not like this book, but I eat it up. I mean, it's Christmas time. I feel like that's just what I enjoy reading this time of year, and so it's definitely that though. But I really enjoyed Marcos's character, and I thought their relationship was just really sweet. There is basically no spice in this book. There's 1 or 2 pages that I can put on the screen that you might want to skip, but they're more so very vague, fade to black kind of scenes. They're not really spice scenes in my opinion. And there is a little bit of language, not anything crazy, but there definitely is a little bit in this book, just to keep that in mind. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. Like I said, I feel like it's a solid Christmas read, and I will definitely still be reading The Christmas Wager by Holly Cassidy, which I think she wrote before this one, but it's also set in a small town, which is something else I loved about this book, was the small town and the kind of cast of characters that the author builds in this small town. I thought was just a really sweet setting as well. So I definitely plan to read The Christmas Wager as well, which I think is set in a different small town, but same author. So I'm excited about that. But now it's time to pick a new book to read. So now that I have finished The Christmas Countdown, which I think was just my second book I finished in this reading vlog, it's time to pick another Christmas book. So I think we're going to start this tonight. And this one follows Jess and Nick, I believe. I remember their names because it's the names of the New Girl characters. If you know, you know. And I believe both of them are writers, and this is some kind of like forced proximity. They're in writing slumps, writer's block kind of thing. I will update you guys when I have an update. Yesterday, I finished All I Want Is You by Falon Ballard, and unfortunately, I just don't think this book was for me, which is a shame because I really loved the premise and the setting and kind of all of the setup of this book. But overall, it just was a little bit too spicy for me. The relationship felt primarily physical, and I feel like, especially since it was a short book, there just wasn't a lot else going on. So in all honesty, I did a lot of skimming and skipping, and so this book just wasn't for me. You might enjoy it if you like that kind of thing, but if you don't like reading spice, I would recommend not reading this book. So just to recap, in this video we read In A Holidaze by Christina Lauren, which I really enjoyed. I loved all the Christmassy activities, I loved the time loop aspect, and I ended up giving this one like a 3.25. Overall, I feel like I really enjoyed it, especially for just a cozy Christmas romance. Then we read The Christmas Countdown by Holly Cassidy, which was my first book by this author, and I really enjoyed this one. Again, like In A Holidaze, it had a lot of Christmassy activities, and overall, I really liked the setting and the characters. I felt like the male main character could have had a little bit more depth and dimension, so I gave this one a 3-star, but overall a really fun small town Christmassy vibe, and I also really loved the relationship between the main character and her sister on top of the romance. And lastly, we read All I Want Is You by Falon Ballard. I ended up giving this one like a 2.5 star. As I said, unfortunately, it was just too spicy for me personally. I hope you guys enjoyed this little holiday Christmassy reading vlog. I hope you all are having a wonderful Christmas season so far. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, friends.